About 6 months back, I found out my wife, soon to be my ex, had been seeing someone else. It hit me like a freight train. I went through the whole storm of emotions: heartbreak, disbelief, and a deep, dragging sadness. For a while there, I was barely holding it together. Just getting through the day felt like a chore. I never directly confronted her, but I was falling apart, and she had to have noticed. Honestly, I think she just didn't care, or at least, that's what it felt like to me. Then, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, something inside me finally snapped. I'd had enough. Enough of the sadness. Enough of pretending. Enough of her. Enough of pretending we still had a marriage. I couldn't bring myself to care anymore. I just shut down emotionally. After that, I started steering clear of her as much as I could. If I knew she'd be home, I made sure I was out. And on the off chance we were both around, I barely said a word. If she asked something, I'd give her cold, one-word answers. Yes. No. Maybe. I don't know. I stopped faking it. I even started leaving bills from the divorce lawyer out in the open. Didn't even bother hiding them. She had to have seen it coming. Even the kids picked up on the tension. One day they came to me, eyes full of worry, and I had to sit them down. "We both love you," I said gently. "None of this is your fault. Sometimes grown-ups just can't stay together." She was in the room with us. She heard every word, clear as day. But she didn't respond. Not a single word. No denial. No excuses. Just silence. I took that as her way of agreeing. Then, just a few days ago, something totally unexpected happened. I bumped into someone I hadn't seen in years, Megan. We went to school together, way before I even met my wife. There'd always been something between us, an unspoken spark. We used to flirt, touch each other's arms a little too long, but I was just a dumb, shy kid back then. I never had the guts to act on it. Before I could figure it out, her family moved away, and she was gone. I always regretted not saying something. But now, there she was, standing right in front of me. The second we started talking, it felt like no time had passed. The conversation flowed so naturally, like we were picking up right where we left off. She gave me a smile, tilted her head slightly, and asked, "So, are you seeing anyone?" I paused. "It's complicated," I said. Her smile faltered a bit. "Complicated how?" I took a breath and decided to just be upfront. "I'm married. Technically. But really, it's over. We're just not done with the paperwork yet." She looked at me for a second, then gave a small nod. "Thanks for being honest. So what now?" I didn't hesitate. "I don't want to date anyone until I've made things official. I'm not the kind of guy who cheats." She smiled again. This time, it felt warmer, more sincere. "I respect that." She reached into her purse, pulled out a piece of paper, scribbled something down, and handed it to me. "Here's my number. Call me when everything's settled." As I took it, our fingers brushed. She gave me this playful little grin. "I never did get married, you know." "Really?" I asked, genuinely surprised. She nodded. "Never met the right guy, I guess." Then she leaned in a little and said softly, "I'm really looking forward to getting to know you again." And I gotta admit, I felt more excited than I had in a long time. Running into Megan gave me a kind of clarity I hadn't felt in months. It gave me the push I needed to finally face things head-on with my wife and start moving forward with the divorce. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt a spark of real happiness. That night, I sat alone in the living room, waiting for her to come home. I probably looked ridiculous, just sitting there with this grin on my face, but I didn't care. This was it. One chapter was ending, and another one was just about to begin. When she walked in, I motioned to the chair across from me. "Can you sit down? We need to talk." She looked uneasy. "But Saturday, what is it?" she asked. I took a deep breath. I've known about the affair for a long time. I watched her face carefully. She flinched a little, but I kept going. "I figured you knew that I knew. I mean, come on. I've been completely emotionally checked out for the past few months. You didn't seem to care. And now? Honestly, I don't either." Her hands curled into fists in her lap. I could see her bracing for what was coming. "I want to start seeing other people," I said, calm and clear. "I want to move forward. And given everything that's happened, I think it's time we officially end this. Don't you agree?" I expected her to shrug it off, maybe even look relieved. But what happened next caught me off guard. She broke down. And I don't mean a few tears. This was something deeper. A gut-wrenching, heartbreaking sound came out of her. Something raw and painful, like her whole world had just shattered. I'd never heard anything like it before. Through the sobs, she started to speak, barely making sense. Please, Mason, please. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. A stupid, stupid mistake. Her voice cracked as she said it, her face streaked with tears. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can make it right. I just stared at her, stunned. Are you serious right now? She grabbed onto my arm with a grip that surprised me. Yes, she said, her voice trembling. I love you. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose our family. I gently pulled my arm away, shaking my head in disbelief. Then why? I asked. If it didn't mean anything, if you didn't want to lose me, why did you do it? She had to know it would blow everything up. There's no way she didn't realize what was at stake. I just sat there, watching her fall apart, crying, gasping, falling to pieces right in front of me. But inside, I felt nothing. Just this deep, quiet emptiness. If you truly wanted to fix things, that moment came and went a long time ago, I said, my voice calm, like I wasn't even part of the conversation. You should have said something 6 months ago, before you cheated on me. She shook her head over and over, tears running like a faucet. No, Mason. Please. We can still fix this. I wasn't thinking. I was lost. But I love you. I swear. I cut her off right there. I didn't think there was anything wrong between us, I said flatly. You never talked to me. I'm not a mind reader. I leaned in slightly, my tone sharper now. But clearly, you thought something was wrong. Wrong enough that you went and looked for comfort somewhere else. She pulled back like I'd hit a nerve. Her eyes were red, her hands trembling. So tell me, I said, not backing down. What was it? What was missing? What was so bad that you couldn't come to me and talk like a normal person? What made you go behind my back instead? Her mouth opened, but all that came out was a broken sob. No words. No answers. I shook my head. Whatever it was, it must have been huge, right? So serious you thought it justified throwing everything away. Our marriage. Our family. I let that hang in the air for a second before finishing, because that's exactly what you did. You made that choice. She buried her face in her hands, shaking. I wasn't thinking, she choked out. I was stupid. I was selfish. Yeah, I said coldly. You were. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with desperation. But I never stopped loving you. I swear I didn't. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so far from the truth it felt ridiculous. Don't say that, I said, my voice low. You don't get to say that anymore. Love doesn't look like this. Love doesn't tear people apart. Love doesn't betray someone and then pretend like it was all just a bad dream. You keep saying you love me, but your actions? They say something totally different. She started rambling again, apologies, excuses, half-formed thoughts, but I couldn't even make sense of it. I rubbed my temples, feeling every last ounce of patience draining out of me. This is pointless, I muttered and stood up. I'm calling your sister. She didn't protest, didn't try to stop me. She just sat there, sobbing, her whole body shaking like she might collapse at any second. I stepped into the hallway, pulled out my phone, and dialed her sister's number. She picked up on the second ring. Mason. Yeah, I sighed. Listen, I need you to come over. Right now. What's going on? She asked, worry creeping into her voice. I finally told her it's over, I said. She's not doing well. I need you to come get her. There was a short pause on the other end before she answered. I'll be there in 20. True to her word, she showed up 15 minutes later. I gave her the quick version of what happened. She didn't look surprised. Just tired, like she'd seen it coming. She helped my wife, my soon-to-be ex, up off the couch, whispering quiet things to her as she led her out the door. And just like that, they were gone. For the first time in 6 months, I could actually breathe. Like really breathe. I don't know what I'm even looking for by telling all this. Some kind of validation? Closure? Maybe I just need someone to tell me I'm not crazy for feeling the way I do. But the truth is still the truth, no matter how I spin it. She had to know this was coming. She had to understand what she was doing when she crossed that line. She made a choice. And it's not like she's some clueless kid. She's smart. She's beautiful. And before this happened, we had a solid marriage. But that was then. That chapter's over. I've moved on. So why is she suddenly acting like she still wants this marriage? Like she still loves me? What does she expect to gain from all this? She couldn't seriously believe we could patch things up, not after everything. There has to be more to it. Some kind of angle. But I just can't figure out what it is. I sat down and rubbed my temples again, trying to make sense of it all. I had plenty of proof of her affair. And where I live, That kind of evidence means she doesn't get alimony. Maybe that's what this is really about. Maybe she's scared I'll show it to a judge and she'll walk away with nothing. Or maybe she's terrified I'll tell the guy's wife and blow up his life too. That would explain the sudden desperation, the way she's clinging to this fantasy of us still being a couple. I leaned back in my chair and let out a long sigh. None of it added up. And the more I tried to get inside her head, the more I realized it wasn't worth my time. I needed to stop analyzing her and start focusing on what really mattered. I pulled a stack of papers in front of me and started jotting things down, each sheet with its own headline. One for the kids, one for how to handle seeing her, one about our marriage, one labeled Megan, one for questions I still needed to ask my wife. I needed to sort everything out, figure out what my priorities were, what my values were, what I actually wanted moving forward. And above all else, one thing stood at the top of the list: the kids. I underlined the word twice. Whatever happened between their mother and me, they didn't deserve to suffer for it. I was going to do everything I could to help them through this. Counseling, therapy, family support, whatever it took. They were going to be surrounded by love. I picked up my phone and called my sister. "Hey, Mason," she answered, her voice kind but cautious. She knew things had been rough. "I need a favor," I said right away. "I want the kids wrapped in support. More family time. More stability. Can you and Mom help?" "Of course," she said without missing a beat. "We're here for them. And for you too." I felt a little bit of the weight lift from my chest. "Thanks." Next, I made a mental list of who else I needed to loop in: teachers, coaches, counselors, anyone who played a part in their day-to-day. I needed to make sure they had a solid foundation, even if the home they knew was changing. "That's a good idea," my sister said. Then she paused. "And, Mason, are you okay?" I hesitated. "I'm managing," I said. We both knew that wasn't the full truth, but she let it slide. After we hung up, I looked down at the next note. DNA testing. Just thinking about it made my stomach turn. But I had to know. I'd already gotten tested for STDs. I wasn't taking any more chances. But this was something else entirely. I needed to know the truth. Not just for me, but for them too. If the kids weren't mine biologically, they deserved to know eventually. I booked the test and stared at the confirmation email. My mind started spiraling. What if they're not mine? Would I still be their dad? Of course I would. But what if they wanted to know about their biological father someday? Would they go looking for him? How would they see me then? All I knew was I had to act now. I couldn't keep living in this fog. I wouldn't be able to breathe right until I had answers. Before anything else, I reached out to their therapists. I needed guidance. How to tell them. How to answer the hard questions. How to make them feel safe while everything around them was falling apart. Once I felt ready, we sat down as a family. I looked at them, my kids, my whole world. Their eyes were wide with confusion and fear. I had to be the strong one. "There's something we need to talk about," I started, keeping my voice steady. "I know things have felt different lately, and I know you probably have a lot of questions." I looked at each of them. "I want you to know that no matter what happens, I'm always here for you. I'm your dad. I love you more than anything. That's not going to change." They sat quietly, soaking it all in. I repeated myself again and again, trying to make sure it stuck. That they knew they were safe. That they were loved. Isabella finally spoke. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" I nodded. "Yeah, sweetheart. We are." Max looked down at his hands. "So what happens to us?" I leaned in, resting my hands on the table. "Nothing changes about how much I love you. You'll always have me. We'll figure the rest out together, okay?" They nodded, but I could see the pain in their eyes. I wanted to take it away. I wanted to fix everything for them. But I couldn't change the past. All I could do now is be here. Be solid. Be dad. Later that night, I sat alone, staring at the paper labeled marriage. The answer had been there for a while. I just hadn't written it down yet. The truth had settled deep into my bones, cold and unshakable. I could never trust her again. And without trust, there's no marriage, no future. And the worst part? I didn't love her anymore. The realization didn't come all at once. It wasn't some loud crash or dramatic moment. It was more like a slow tide, creeping in bit by bit, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. The love I once had for her, it used to be everything. It shaped my whole world. But she destroyed it. Her affair shattered something deep inside me. Something that just couldn't be put back together. Maybe in another life, if things had happened differently, I could have tried again. Maybe I would have found a way to rebuild. But standing in this moment, in this reality, I didn't want to. There was no fight left in me for this marriage. No desire to piece back together what felt permanently broken. Ending it felt like the right thing. The only thing. I didn't want this marriage anymore. I didn't want her anymore. That old feeling, the warmth, the excitement I used to feel just thinking about her, was gone. Replaced by dread. By memories that made my skin crawl. Divorce wasn't just a possibility. It was inevitable. And I wanted it finalized as soon as possible. Still, as much as I wanted to move on, I knew jumping straight into something with Megan wasn't the smartest move. My life was a mess, and I didn't want to pull her into it. It wouldn't be fair. When I told her that, she didn't get upset. Instead, she said something I wasn't expecting. Life is messy, she told me. Might as well see how we handle it together. She had a point, but I still wasn't ready. As we talked more, she opened up about why she'd never married. She'd been engaged once, about 6 years ago, but her fiancé died in a tragic work accident. It crushed her. She'd dated here and there since, but nothing had ever stuck. She said life was short, and you had to grab hold of real chances when they came. I understood that. I respected it. But I told her I wouldn't start anything until the divorce was final. I don't want to cheat, not even technically, I said. She respected that too. I also brought up how it might look to others if we went public too soon. They'll say you were the reason, I told her. They'll paint you as the homewrecker. I don't want that for you. She agreed. So we made a decision. I'd take care of what needed to be done. When it was all over, I'd reach out. And then we'd see where it could go. With that settled, I shifted my focus to the hard part, the meeting with my wife. I sat down and wrote out a list of principles. Not legal strategy. Not tactics. Just reminders of the kind of man I wanted to be. I told myself I had to stay calm. I had to stay kind, even if she hadn't been. The goal wasn't revenge. It was closure. And more importantly, it was peace for the kids and for me. Still, I had questions I needed answered. Why did she do it? What was she thinking? What were her plans now? I decided I'd be direct, but not manipulative. I wasn't going to fake forgiveness just to get a better deal. I didn't want to use her pain as leverage. I'd be fair. I'd split everything down the middle. Even though I hated what she'd done to me, to our kids, to the life we built, I couldn't forget the good parts. The laughter. The quiet moments. The family dinners. The kids we raised together. I wanted to remember that version of her. Not the one who betrayed me. At some point, I knew I'd have to forgive her. Not for her sake, but for mine. I couldn't keep carrying this bitterness. It would rot me from the inside out. Before the cheating, I truly believed we had a good marriage. We were close. We made time for each other. We were affectionate. We shared everything, or so I thought. I was honest with her. I assumed she was the same with me. But now, I knew better. Sunday came, and I went to see her. Her sister had warned me she wasn't doing well. She wasn't kidding. When I walked in and saw her, I barely recognized the woman sitting in front of me. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her face looked puffy from days of crying. Her hair was a mess, like she hadn't touched it in days. She looked smaller somehow, like she'd collapsed inward. She was shaking, almost uncontrollably. Strangely, I felt calm. I looked at her and felt nothing like a husband should. There was no heartbreak left. I felt something, sure, but it was distant. Like watching a character in a sad movie. I cared, but I wasn't in it anymore. That's when I knew for sure. I didn't love her anymore. She tried to speak a few times, but couldn't get the words out. The sobs just kept coming. Her sister sat beside her, crying too, every now and then snapping at her, like she'd seen this all coming. Maybe she had. Finally, my wife spoke. And when she did, it was like a dam breaking. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. I can't even begin to tell you how much I regret everything." She kept saying it, over and over, like repeating it might somehow undo what she'd done. I didn't say a word. I just sat there, silent. What caught me off guard was that she didn't blame me. She didn't make excuses. I braced myself for some kind of twisted justification, some story about how I pushed her away, or how she felt neglected. But none of that came. Her sister, who'd been quietly crying next to her, suddenly wiped her face and shot me a bitter look. "I told her," she said. "I told her this would happen. But she wouldn't listen." I frowned. "Told her what?" "That she'd lose everything," she said, shaking her head. "That's how I lost my fiancé. That stopped me cold. I had no idea her sister had gone through something similar." Then my wife let out another shaky sob and whispered. I started thinking about it after that. I looked at her, confused. "I started wondering what it would be like," she continued. If I could do it and still keep my life the same. My stomach twisted. So this was planned? I asked, my voice low. She shook her head quickly. No, not at first. I started thinking about it. A lot. And then I met him, she said, her face crumpling. She broke down again, the words barely coming through the tears. I didn't mean for this to happen. I don't even know how to explain it. I got infatuated. Like a dumb teenager with a crush. I couldn't help myself. I clenched my jaw. You couldn't help yourself? She nodded, looking completely ashamed. I told myself it was just a fling, that it wouldn't mean anything. I never thought you'd find out. I never thought anyone would get hurt. My hands were fists in my lap. You didn't think I'd find out? I said, my voice cold. She let out a small, broken laugh. I was happy, Mason, she whispered. So happy with you, with our life. I told myself I deserved this. That if you knew how happy I was, you'd probably support my choice. That part hit hard. She had actually convinced herself that her betrayal wouldn't cost us anything. That she could live in both worlds, our home, our family, and still chase some secret thrill like nothing would change. She thought it would pass. That we'd go right back to being a happy little family. But by the time she realized something was wrong, I was already gone in my mind. I'd started pulling away. I stopped engaging. I checked out. I thought everything was fine, she whispered. I let out a cold chuckle. Fine? You really believe that? She nodded, wiping her face with trembling hands. I told myself it was just a phase. That once it ended, we'd be okay. She told me she ended it a month ago. Said the thrill faded and she blocked him. She even handed me her phone to prove it. I took it and went to her blocked contacts. Then, I unblocked his number. And immediately, a flood of messages came in. Desperate, angry, begging. I scrolled through them slowly. My hands were steady. She flinched when I looked up. Guess he didn't get the memo, I muttered. She swallowed. I wanted to fix things with you, Mason. I've been trying. I thought, if I could just get you to see how much I love you, maybe we could find our way back. I shook my head. And what? I asked. Come out stronger than ever? That's what you were hoping for, wasn't it? She hesitated, then nodded. Yes. I leaned forward, my voice quiet, but sharp. And when I looked you in the eye that night and told you I knew, what did you see in me then? Her lips trembled, and she started crying again. I saw it was over, she whispered. I saw that I destroyed everything. I leaned back, let out a long breath through my nose. Then why are we still having this conversation? She sniffled, twisting her hands in her lap. Because I have to try, Mason. I have to fight for us, for our family. I closed my eyes for a second, trying to stay calm. Then I asked the question that had haunted me from the moment I found out. What was it? What went through your head that made you think you had the right to do this? To me? To our kids? She broke down, harder this time. Her body was shaking with sobs. I don't know. Bullshit. I cut her off. You must have had a reason. People don't just wake up one day and decide to blow up their life. She opened her mouth like she was going to explain, but nothing came out. She just looked at me, lost, desperate, as if I could give her the excuse she couldn't find. And that's when it hit me. There was no reason. No explanation that would ever make sense. No justification that could ever make this okay. I let out a long, slow breath. You know what? I said quietly. It doesn't even matter anymore. Because nothing she said would ever undo the damage. Nothing would ever make it right. She broke down completely, sobbing into her hands. But me? I felt nothing. Not rage. Not sadness. Not love. Just emptiness. I got closure today. I said it softly, more to myself than to her. I gotta tell you something, I said, keeping my voice steady. You hurt me. You really did. More than I can put into words. She looked up at me, her lips trembling. I know, she whispered. And I'm so sorry. I'll never forgive myself. I nodded slowly. Good. Because this is on you. You didn't just break my heart. You broke our marriage. You tore apart our family. Our kids, they're gonna grow up in a broken home because of what you did. She flinched like I'd slapped her, but I didn't care. She needed to hear the truth. Her hands shook as she reached toward me. Please, Mason. Please, give me another chance. I'll do anything. Anything. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I realized how far gone we were. It wasn't just the marriage that was broken. It was the way I saw her. The trust. The respect. The love. All of it. I don't believe you, I said flatly. Honestly, I don't believe anything you say anymore. Her voice cracked as she asked me what she could do to fix things. Begged for some kind of direction, like there was a checklist to make this all go away. You broke it, I told her. And if you don't even know how am I supposed to tell you how to fix it? She swallowed hard. Mason, please, just tell me what I can do. I'll do anything. I shook my head. Let me ask you this. If you were in my shoes, what would you say to that? She hesitated. Her hands twisted together in her lap. She had no answer. We went around like that for what felt like forever. Same questions, same pain, no progress. Eventually, she let out a shaky breath. If it were me, if you'd done this to me, she said quietly, I don't think I'd be able to forgive it either. I nodded. Then you understand. I told her I'd already gotten tested for STDs. I also told her I planned to get a DNA test for the kids, just to be sure. The second those words left my mouth, she broke down completely. Sobbing, gasping for breath, crying harder than I'd ever seen her. And I just stood there, watching, feeling nothing, detached. When she finally caught her breath, she looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. Mason, I swear, she said. This was the only time. I've never, ever done anything like this before. I crossed my arms. And why should I believe that? She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. She knew there was nothing she could say. Finally, she admitted it. I guess you don't have any reason to believe me. If I were you, I'd probably do the same. I moved on. Does his wife know? She looked down, shame all over her face. No, she said softly. I sighed. She deserves to know. I know. I met her eyes. So, are you going to tell her? Or do I have to? Her lip trembled. Mason, if I tell her, if I go to HR and come clean, would you maybe consider reconciliation? Maybe counseling? I didn't even blink. No. She looked like my words took the air right out of her. But I kept my voice steady. It won't save our marriage. But it might help you earn back a sliver of respect. Her shoulders sagged. But she nodded. Okay. I'll do it. I'll tell her. I'll go to HR. I'll do whatever it takes. I rubbed my hand over my face, exhausted. I don't really believe you. She reached for me again, her voice cracking. Mason, I swear. I'll never be with anyone else again. And I'll never stop trying to win you back. Even if it takes the rest of my life. I didn't respond. I didn't believe her. And honestly, the conversation was starting to feel pointless. Then, she said something that made my skin crawl. What if we had a one-sided open marriage? She blurted out. You could see other people. I'd stay faithful to you. You'd have full access to my phone, my email. I'd be available to you 24/7. Anything, Mason. Anything. I stared at her for a long time. Then I said, I already talked to Megan. And I'm waiting. She blinked. Waiting? For what? I exhaled slowly. For the divorce. Because I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to be in some twisted open relationship. It would hurt her if we did that. And I'm not about to hurt someone else just because you hurt me. Tears filled her eyes again. But I wasn't done. And I don't want to be your jailer, either. I don't want to be the guy constantly checking your phone, tracking your location, wondering who you're texting every time you look away. That's not a relationship. That's prison. I shook my head. I'm not interested in intimacy without trust. Physical connection without love means nothing to me. If all I needed was a release, I could take care of that myself. I didn't need a partner for that. I needed trust. I needed something real. And by that point, we were both completely drained. We'd been talking for over 4 hours, and she had cried through nearly all of it. Sometimes it was quiet, just tears slipping down her cheeks. Other times, she broke down completely, sobbing until her voice gave out. Her face was swollen, her voice hoarse. But the truth was, there wasn't anything left to say. We weren't going to fix this. It was over. I looked at her one last time, my voice calm but firm. The love I used to feel for you, it's gone. I don't even recognize who you are anymore. You destroyed what we had, our family, our marriage. She shook her head, violently. No, Mason, please. But I kept going. You can't undo what you did. The only way to avoid this was to never start that affair in the first place. That was your choice. And now this is the consequence. I don't want the marriage back. I don't want you back. And I don't want to keep living in this pain. She wrapped her arms around herself, sobbing harder like she was trying to hold herself together. I felt completely spent. We need space. No contact. Time to get perspective. I already filed for divorce, I added. My decision's made. Her whole body tensed. Mason, please. Please. I shook my head. The only thing we have left now is co-parenting. I'll do family therapy for the kids, sure. But beyond that, I don't even want to see you. That shattered her. She collapsed inward, shaking and gasping between cries, repeating no, like she could change the reality just by saying it enough. I stood up, ready to leave. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. But before I could take a step, I saw her wobble. She covered her face, and that's when I noticed something was wrong. Her breathing hitched, and she reached out in panic before her knees gave way. I caught her just in time. Her sister screamed, "Oh my God, Mason, help her." I didn't think. I just moved. I picked her up, rushed to the car, her sister jumping in right behind me. The drive to the hospital was silent except for her sister's soft crying. I kept my eyes on the road, focused, my wife barely conscious in the back seat. I stayed at the hospital until the doctors told me she'd be okay. Since then, she's been telling people the truth, owning what she did. Word got around quick. This morning, the other man's wife called me. Her voice was tight, angry. "Is it true?" I sighed. "Yeah." She was silent. Then she asked, "Do you have proof?" "I do," I said. "Send me some of it." So I did. A few minutes later, she texted me back. "He's out." I kicked him out. She called again shortly after. "Mason, I need to see everything. I've suspected something for a while but never had anything concrete." She asked if we could meet. I thought about it. "Let's have dinner tomorrow." She paused, then said, "Can we talk now?" I rubbed my temples. "Maybe later." Meanwhile, some of my wife's friends and relatives have been calling me nonstop, yelling at me and blaming me, telling me I should forgive her. Like I'm the one who wrecked our marriage. "You're really gonna throw everything away over one mistake?" Her cousin snapped at me earlier. "One mistake." I repeated, my voice colder than I meant. "She made that mistake every time she met up with him for 6 straight months. That's not a slip-up. That's a choice. But you still love her," she insisted. "You have a family together. You can work through this." I let out a tired, bitter laugh. Love? Whatever love I had for her died the day I found out what she'd been doing behind my back. And our family? I sighed. She already destroyed that. I'm just sweeping up the broken pieces. She hung up on me. That was the 4th call like that today. But honestly, I keep thinking, why keep dragging out the pain? Better to face it, rip off the bandage, and start healing. Even if that healing means we move forward separately. Because the truth is, there's nothing left to save. The DNA test came back. The kids are mine. And 4 months later, the divorce was finalized. It was strange. After all the chaos, the fights, the endless tears, the ending felt quiet. Almost peaceful. I gave my ex-wife her share of the assets. And just like that, it was over. No more paperwork. No more court dates. Just 2 people who once shared a life, now heading down different roads. The kids don't want to stay with her. That wasn't something I ever pushed them toward. I never said a bad word about their mom. They made that decision on their own. One night, while I was tucking Isabella in, she whispered, "She's always sad." "She doesn't talk much," Isabella added. "And when she does, she just sounds tired. It's like she drains all the joy out of the room." Dad. Max was sitting on the edge of his bed. He looked up and nodded. "Yeah, it's like she wants us to be miserable with her." I didn't know what to say. I didn't want them to hate their mom. I really didn't. But I also couldn't force them to spend time with someone who made them feel that way. Megan, on the other hand, she stepped up in ways I never expected. She's become more of a mother to them than I ever thought possible. They adore her. They laugh with her. They tell her things they used to only tell their mom. At first, I felt guilty about that, like I was betraying someone. But now I just feel thankful. Because they're happy again. They feel safe. They feel loved. And that's what matters most. "I'm glad you found her, Dad," Isabella said one afternoon while helping Megan set the table for dinner. She smiled at me, really smiled. I hadn't seen that in so long. "She makes us happy." And those words, they meant the world to me. Megan and I are getting married in 4 months. And the kids? They're just as excited as we are. As for my ex-wife, she finally started therapy. A few days ago, I gave her a call just to wish her well. She sounded distant, but she thanked me. "The kids don't want to see me," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I get it. I do. She paused and sighed. "I miss them." I didn't know how to respond to that. I wasn't going to guilt the kids into seeing her. But I also understood how much that pain must weigh on her. Maybe now she's finally starting to understand how her choices affected them. And maybe, in time, that understanding will help her heal too. For now, though, she's kept her distance. And the kids seem okay with that. Anyway, that's where we're at. Life isn't perfect, but it's moving forward.